Hello and welcome to my top 10 of 2019. The way I'm doing this top 10 though is I'm doing my personal top 10 from the games I've played or own according to Board Game Geek rank. So let's first of all start off with a sort of cheaty number 11/10, which is Clank Legacy Acquisitions Incorporated, which is a really nice introduction to the new Clank legacy game, I guess. It's actually, strictly speaking, an expansion. I think it adds a nice little extra to the Clank universe, and I really like it, so that's why I'm going to include it. And it's about 1832 in the Geek ranking system. However, if you think that's cheating to use an expansion, let's have a look at a game. So from a game point of view, in position 2188 is Tiny Epic Mechs. Now I don't actually own this. I was tempted to grab hold of it, but a friend of mine actually got hold of it. I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's amazing. I think a 7 is a pretty good score on the Board Game Geek ranking system. So I sort of agree with the overall Board Game Geek opinion that, you know, it's a decent game, but it's not amazing. So that's my number 10, if you like. Number 9 is a game that I think is massively underrated by Board Game Geek. It's position 1696, although if you do it via theme, it's position 272, and that's Detective. And that's definitely an 8 or even a 9 for me. I think it's a really good game. I haven't actually got it to the table as much as I would like. I need to play it a bit more, but I really like it. And in my unboxing video I did demonstrate some of the bits about it I wasn't so happy with, but they're very minor nitpicks, to be honest. And yeah, it's a really cool mechanic of the chisel versus the players. I can't remember what's in the new expansion, but there is a new expansion coming out with more stories, which is going to make this really good. And I've got a feeling Detective City of Angels is going to be my best detective game, and it's going to push out all the other ones like Detective itself. I'm not sure about Sherlock Holmes. I think Sherlock Holmes might just pip it to the post there. So that's my number 9. Number 8 is a game I don't own. Dinogenics, a really good game. Rank 1410. Now this is very much sort of Jurassic Park in a box. It's not quite so day-glow bright as Dinosaur Island. I really quite enjoyed Dinosaur Island, and this is a similar but yet totally different game, and I think it's difficult to justify both Dinogenics and Dinosaur Island in your collection, but you can, because they are different enough that I think you could get away with it. So yeah, really good game, and if you really like dinosaurs and you weren't quite sold on Dinosaur Island, maybe consider Dinogenics. It's similar, but it's different enough that you might like it. So moving on, another game that's way down on the ranking here, overall 1199, and that's Dune. Now this is actually a game from the 70s that's been reissued. I've done quite a few videos on it. They've just announced a new expansion for it, and I think the thematic rating of 198 is much closer to the actual ranking of Dune. To me, this is in the top 3 of the year, but I put it via Board Game Geek ranking in position 7, I want to say 10, 9, 8, 7, yeah, position 7. So for me, this is massively underrated. It's higher up for a personal opinion, but on Board Game ranking, it's a solid 7. In position 6 then, we've got Keyforge, or more accurately, Age of Ascension, which is the new version of Keyforge. I think it's a really good game. I think it's probably just above Tiny Epic Mechs for me out of the games I've shown you so far. I like it. It's a really good way of getting that sort of Magic the Gathering vibe without all the faff of collecting stuff. Really good solid game, well worth it. I think just buy 3 or 4 decks of cards and you're done. I don't think you need to go around and hunt for loads of cards. But yeah, really good solid game by Richard Garfield. Now, a game that I backed on Kickstarter, but only for $1, because I wasn't 100% convinced, and then sadly I didn't actually have the money to go all in. My friend did, and this is brilliant. This is sort of Mansions of Madness without the app, effectively. Really solid game. Beautiful, cool mini or not miniatures, and as you can see, it's position 1103 overall. in the top 200 thematically. Really solid game. So much so that I am tempted to try and trade for the Kickstarter version of this if I can, because it's just an excellent game. And if you like that sort of dungeon crawly Mansions of Madness style game, you might like Death May Die. Now what's particularly cool of course about this is you're trying to stop the ritual, and until you actually disrupt the ritual it's very hard to take on the old ones. It is a bit pulp play. In the version we did, I was playing the little kid who has like a fireball spell, and I think I hit Cthulhu twice at the end to win us the game. So literally if I hadn't killed Cthulhu on my turn, we were probably going to lose the game from going mad or getting beaten up. So yeah, really good game, and I believe most of the gameplays have ended where it's sort of like, if we don't win now we're going to lose. So it's quite tight mechanically. Definitely worth a play, that's for certain. Moving on to another old game that's been reintroduced, Claustrophobia 1643. Now I've cheated here a bit. I'm actually rating this mostly based on my impression of the original Claustrophobia, which this very closely follows. I think the miniatures and the artwork's slightly better. I'm not so keen on the templates, and as you can see, it's down in the 1000s, and again in the top 200, in fact in the top 150 thematically. Really good solid game, very good two-player, although one of the issues I did find with this, some scenarios seem to be very heavily biased towards either the humans or the demon factions, and that is a slight problem with it. Also in the original version you used a lot of the same equipment, so this game I've sort of cheated a bit putting it where it is, because I don't actually own or have played this particular version, but based on the reviews I've seen, the videos I've seen, the playthroughs I've seen, it's close enough to the original for me to think this is a solid contender and well deserving of its place in the Board Game Geek ranking. A game I've literally just played a few days ago, Taverns of Tea Funnel. Yeah, it's an interesting game. It's in the top 700 overall and in the top 400 from a strategy point of view. A very interesting sort of dice worker placement / drafting game. It's got some weird things going on. I really liked it. I wouldn't call it an amazing innovative game, but it's got lots of really good bits and pieces in there, and it's definitely well worth a play. And because it was so cheap as well, I think someone was saying they got it for under £30. Considering how much you paid for it, this is just an amazing game for the price, and your bang for the buck is amazing on this. Definitely worth its third place on my list. Okay, let's move into the top two. So in position 2, Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. This uses an app which pushes it down the ranking a bit for me, but it uses the app in a pretty good way. It's very much sort of Mansions of Madness, Lord of the Rings edition. Yeah, it's got some really good things going on. The miniatures are nice, the sort of exploring is good, but you've also got a revealing story. Yeah, really solid all-round game, and as you can see, it's in the top 200 and in the top 25 thematically. And yeah, it's a solid game. If you don't mind the fact that it's an app-driven game, this is definitely well, in the top 3 for me. If you don't like apps, then yeah, obviously not so good. But yeah, I love this. I'm tempted to pick this up. Big Lord of the Rings fan. The app is one of the things that holds me back. Also, it's quite expensive. And of course, being FFG, there's bound to be a load of expansions for it. But again, if you're loving the game, is that a problem? And this sort of game lends itself really well to expansions with extra characters, extra cards, extra missions. Really cool. And for me, FFG have sort of got the app-driven mechanics down pretty well. Mansions of Madness has been a bit of a hit. This has been a hit. So it does go to show that you can have apps and board games inhabit the same space, and that's really good to see that someone's actually got that going. I just hope there isn't a flurry of app-driven board games, because part of the joy for me of board gaming is I can switch off from the apps and the computers. So let's look at number 1. Shouldn't come as a surprise to most people. This is in the top 30 overall, top 26 strategy, and number 1 family game, Wingspan. Absolutely beautiful production, sort of a tableau build-in action selection game, I guess. Really, really nice, beautiful artwork. The component quality is off the chart. Great fun game, complex enough that there's a bit of strategy there, but simple enough that, you know, your family could play it. And, you know, I'm still trying to 3D print kind of components to make the game look a bit nicer. And yeah, I mean, just absolutely brilliant game. Really, really good. Definitely in my top 3 personally, and is number 1 based on Board Game Geek ranking. Now, there were a number of other games I could have mentioned, but either I haven't played them, or I don't own them, or I own them and haven't played them yet. But these top 10 represent the 10 that I've actually either played or own and played. And then, as I said, I've put them in the ranking according to Board Game Geek. So there you go. That's my top 10 for 2019. I hope you've enjoyed this quick and short video. Hope you have a great holiday.